All right, let's get into it. Whenever we talk about AI, the word governance pops up. And let's be honest, for a lot of people, it just sounds like hitting the brakes hard. But what if? What if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if governance isn't the brake, but the guardrail that actually lets us go faster but safely? That's what we're going to unpack.
We have to start right here, because this is the real world for so many teams, right? You've got this great idea, you're building momentum, and then bam, you hit the governance wall. Reviews, approvals, endless delays. It feels like this frustrating, bureaucratic mess that's just designed to kill innovation.
So if that's the common experience, you got to ask the question, why does this thing even exist? Is it really just there to slow everybody down? Or is there a deeper, more structural reason for it all? And that's the question we're really digging into in this explainer. To get to the answer, we have to kind of shift our perspective. We need to look at the whole life cycle of an AI system, from just a tiny idea all the way to something that has a real impact on the world. This is where you can see exactly when and why governance suddenly becomes not just important, but absolutely essential. First things first, let's be super clear on this one. Governance is not about policing your thoughts. It's not about shutting down your early experiments. That whole phase, where you're just exploring, building prototypes, and everything can be easily undone, that's a space for total freedom, with very little oversight. Okay, so here's the pivot. Governance shows up to manage risk. And think about it. Risk isn't really in an idea, is it? Risk shows up when that idea becomes a real system with authority, the power to actually influence decisions or take actions or change things. This isn't some cultural choice a company makes, it's just a structural reality of building powerful tools. And this chart here, this Lifecycle Lens, it maps that journey out perfectly. See on the left, you've got assistive AI. Think of things like conversational insights. It's read-only, it's reversible, pretty low impact. But then on the right, you've got operational AI, systems with real authority and real consequences. This lens is basically our map for understanding that big transition. So as a system starts moving from the left side of that map to the right, it's gaining authority. And the second it does, a brand new requirement just clicks into place: accountability. I mean, you simply can't have a system out there changing things in the real world without someone being explicitly responsible for what it does. Let's really focus on that clear line drawn right down the middle of the diagram. That's the authority boundary. It's the exact threshold where a cool idea becomes a serious system. The moment you cross that line, you're not just playing around anymore. You are operating. And without governance at this point, you're just creating unowned risk, which is a total recipe for disaster.
Now let's look at the right side of that boundary. This is the world of operational AI. The key words here are authority-bearing, regulated, and system impact. And if you look at the bottom, you can see that once you're in this zone, controls are required, evidence is required, an audit trail is non-negotiable. The system is now live and the stakes are real.
And that brings us to a really critical shift in how we think. Back in that early experimental phase, your personal confidence, your gut feeling about your model, that might be enough. But once a system has real authority, I think it's okay just doesn't cut it anymore. We have to move to something way more rigorous.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. Intuition is based on your confidence. You can't review that, and it definitely doesn't scale across a whole team or a whole company. Evidence, on the other hand, it's reviewable, it's repeatable, and it's auditable. This is exactly why governance insists on stuff like logging and documentation and formal testing. It's not about distrusting people. It's about building a solid, scalable, and defensible system that actually protects everybody involved.
Okay, so here it is. This is the big payoff. This is the idea that flips that whole governance is a brake idea right on its head. When you do it right, clear governance is actually an accelerator. It's the secret to moving faster, not slower. It sounds crazy, but it's true. So how does that even work? Well, let's break it down. First, when the rules of the road are clear from day one, you design the system correctly the first time. That slashes rework. Second, when you have known safety controls you can rely on, you can deploy with confidence, not fear. And third, when you have a well-defined rollback plan, you can actually experiment more boldly because you know you have a safety net if things go wrong. And the flip side is also true. What's the thing that really slows projects down? It's ambiguity. It's not knowing what the rules are. It's building something for months, only to find out at the end that it doesn't meet the requirements. Unclear governance, that's the real brake on progress. Clarity is the gas pedal.
So to wrap things up, let's just be super precise about what we did here. The whole goal of this explainer was to explain the why. Why does governance exist? It's here to get you and your teams ready to engage with the whole process in a constructive way.
What we are not doing is defining any specific policies or, and this is super important, approving any specific system for deployment. This is all about understanding the framework.
And that leads us to the single most important takeaway, pulled right from the center of our diagram. The thing we're really trying to manage here isn't the technology itself. The real risk is, and honestly always has been, giving any system unbounded authority without clear accountability and without proper controls. When you start to see governance through that lens, its purpose becomes perfectly, totally clear.